So hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. And today we are going to do a simple question, and it is the next question in our series, and the question is Roman to integer. So let's see this question. So it is given that Roman numerals are represented by seven different symbols: I, V, X, L, C, D, and M. So we are given the symbols and values for the Roman numerals also. So here I is representing 1, V is 5, X is 10, L is 50, C is 100, D is 500, and M is 1000. So these are the value for each symbol. Now what it is asking is that we have been given a Roman numeral and we have to convert it into integers. Now let's see the extra message what it has given. So it is given an example to make us understand. So let's assume for example 2, which is can be written as double I. So in here what you are doing, that the I value is 1, and so there are 2 I, so value is equals to 2. So you are adding I plus I. In Roman numerals, just two ones add together. So this is what it is given. So next one is 12. So let's see how it has been written. So 12 can be written as x double I. And how we are getting 12 from this? We are getting this by adding all these values, which is x plus I. X is 10 and I is 1. So it is going to equals to 12. Now again, if you see 27, it has been written as xxvii. So it is again xx plus v plus double I. So if you add all this, here x is equals to 20, v is 5, and this is 2, so it is going to equals to 27. So what is happening in here, that in Roman numerals we are just adding the values respective to their symbols. Okay, now let's see the next paragraph. So it is saying Roman numerals are usually written larger to a smallest from left to right. So here you can see in the previous that every Roman numeral has been written in a sequence that the highest one is previous and lowest one are next to them. So it is in largest to smallest from left to right. However, the numerals for 4 is not triple 4, because triple 4 is satisfying our condition which we have seen, but it is not satisfying, and we write 4 as IV, and it is opposite of what we have seen, that the smaller is previous to the higher one, which is V. Because the 1 is before the 5, we subtract it, making 4. So here it is indicating a very good approach which we can apply in here, and it is already given us the algorithm. And it is going to be that if the sequence is in correct order, that means the higher ones are before and lower ones are after, then we can simply add, and the value is going to be equals to what we need. Now, if the sequence is opposite, that means the smaller one is previous and the higher one is after. That means we have to subtract at that point. So by subtracting, we will get the answer. So here you can see, if you subtract 5 minus 1, it is going to give 4. Because of 1 before the 5, we subtract it, make 4. The same principle applied to the number 9, which is written as ix9. So same is when we apply to the 9. There are 6 instances where subtraction is used. So if you place I before V, it is going to be 4. Again, if you place I before X, it is going to be 9, as seen above. Now, if you similarly place X before L, it is going to do the same. It is going to decrease the value L, which is equals to 50, with which value? 10 value, because X value is 10. So it is becomes 40. Now again, if you place X before C, so C value is 100 and X value is 10, so it is going to subtract and it is going to be 90. So after saying this much examples, you have already understood that what we have to do in this question. So now let's take some example and understand how it is going to be work. So we are going to take the second example and understand how it is working. So let's take example which is equals to L V I I. So this is the first example. So as you have seen in the question, that it is given that if the sequence is normal, that means the higher value is before and the lower one is after, then we have to add it. So if you are at the iteration, if you do iteration, and if you add at the second index, so we are starting from the second index iteration. So if we check for the first when the current index. So if you check the one index which is previous to the current and the current index, that if the previous index is higher than the current index, that means the value. So you can see that the value for L is equals to 50. So value of L is equals to 50. and value of v is equals to 5. So you see that the sequence is correct. That means the our normal sequence, which is that means that the previous one is greater and the current one is less. So what we have to do, we have to just add it. So we are going to add to our answer 50. Now we move to the next index, which is this one, and we check in both these. So you can see that the sequence is again same. The value for p is 5 and 1 is 1. So you can see that the sequence is similar. That means the higher one is previous and the lower one is next. So we are going to add 5. Now again, when you move to the next index, you are going to see the same, that the value is 1. So it is equals to 1. So we are going to add 1. Now again, if you move to the last index, so you will see that the value is again same. That means it is greater than equals to 1. So we are going to add 1. Now we have added till this position. So if you start from the first index, not from the zeroth index, so you reach to the second last index value addition. Now for the last one, we have to add it in any situation. I will tell you how. In here you have to add it because it is in correct order. Now when we see the next question, you will understand why. So this is clear. Now let's take one example where the sequence is opposite. So we are going to take the third example, which is given m c m x c I v. So here you can see that the value for m is equals to 1000 and the value of c is equals to 100. Okay, so if you find this, that the value of m is 1000 and c is 100, and when you are starting from the first index, you see that the sequence is correct, it is 1000. That means it is greater than equals to. So what we have decided, we are going to add the previous one value. So we add 1000 to our answer. Now we move to the next index. You will see there is m, and the value of m is 1000. Now here the sequence change or order change. That means this is greater and the previous one is higher. So what we have done in the previous scenarios, that we have to subtract it. So instead of adding, we have to subtract it. So we are doing minus 100. Now when you move to the next index, you see that it is 10 and it is in correct order. That means it is less. So what we have to do, we have to add 1000. Now again, when you move to the next index, which is c, so in here what we have to do, we have to first check the value. So the value for the c is what, which it is 100. So you can see that the value is again changed the order, which is 100. So we have, instead of addition, what we have to do, we have to do the subtraction. So let's do the subtraction. So we remove it and subtract how, which value, 10. Now again, when you move to I, you see that the value is 1. So it is in correct order in our previous order. That means we have to add it. So we are adding 100. Now at last, when you move at the fifth index, you see that the sequence again changes. That means the value is greater than the previous one. So in here what we have to do, we have to subtract, and which value we have to subtract, we have to subtract 1. Now the last index is left. So in here you can see that always the last index is going to be added, and that is because if you take a simple one, so let's assume you are checking for 1, so it is always going to give the value which is its own value, which is 1. And if you take v, it is going to be 5. Now let's assume you take 4. So what it is happening, that the first index is subtracting from the last index. So last index is already adding in our answer. Only thing we are doing is subtracting the previous one. As we are doing, we are always adding or subtracting the previous one from the current pointer. So when you are at the last index, what you are doing, you are subtracting it. So minus 1 plus 5. So that why we are adding it in every scenario. So if you calculate this, you are going to get which value, we are going to take 1994. So let's add it and let's confirm. So it is going to be our 20,000 and again it is subtraction, so it is going to be cancel out, and here you will see that the value is going to be minus 6, so it is going to be 20,000 minus 6, and which is equals to 1994, which is our answer. So this is correct. Now this is the overall situations we are going to do. So now let's try to code it and understand it better. So how we are going to do this? So the first thing which will come to your mind is that how we are going to handle with these values. So to handle this value, the simple method which must come in your mind, that let's save this value in a data structure. So we are going to use an unordered map. So we use unordered map, and what we have to store, we have to store a symbol and a value. So we are going to take char, and one is going to be int. Let's take it m, and let's put the values in m. So we are going to take mi, and its value is going to equals to 1. Similarly we are going to do for the all. So let's copy paste. So we are at v, next is x, next is l, next is c, next is d, and the final one is m. The values are 1, next is 5, next is 10, next is 50, next is 100, and next one is 500, and the last one is 1000. So now we have already saved the values in our data structure. Now let's first take the size for our string. So let's take int l equals to s dot length, because length is going to give the size for the string. Now next let's take the value answer, which is going to be equals to 0. It is going to give us the value final answer. Now let's run a for loop as we have discussed to iterate. So in for loop we are iterating from I equals to 1, which is first index, till which value I less than l, I plus plus. And next what we have to do, we have to check the values differences. So if you check, we are going to check like m s I minus 1. So it is going to give the value for the previous one, which is the first index, 0th index, and we are going to check if it is greater than or equals to value for the symbol present at the si index. So if it is a condition, what we have to do, we have to simply add. So we are going to do ans plus equals to which value, it is the value is going to be equals to the first one. So we are going to do this. Now in else part, what we have to do in here, so this is an else part example which is 4. You can see that what we have decided to do, we have to subtract the first one, which is the less. So what we have to do, we have to subtract it. So we are doing ans uh, plus equals to ans minus equals to and the value. So this is how we are going to do. And why we are doing this is, you can see that in the first if condition, what we have been done, we have adding all the values till which value, till the last one value, second last value. So here you can see we are adding all the value till second last, and in the values for the another condition in where the sequence is opposite, we are adding till this also second last position, but in place of addition we are doing subtraction. So we have to do so. Now the last index which is left is last one, so let's handle that. So we are simply going to return ans, and we are going to add that value, which is going to be equals to ms l minus 1. And why we are adding in both condition, because here you can see that here we have to add all of this, so it doesn't matter to us. So in here you can see that in any condition, let's assume this is the last condition and the previous condition is anything, let's not think about more. So in this condition we have already minus the second last. Now the last one we have to add it. So here, because what we are doing, we are subtracting 5 minus 1, so it is giving 4. So in both conditions we have to add the last index value. That's why I've added directly in the ans. Now let's try to run this code. So it is accepted. Now let's try to submit this. Okay, so it is successfully submitted. So that's all for the today's question, and this is a simple question. Thank you all.